18 minutes to 45 minutes. We take you from not knowing what a note is to producing a piece of music that you can record or composing your own piece of music. We do all that in 16 classes, but every other week. On the opposite week, we do live sessions. There's homework involved. This is great for homeschool kids. This is great for young people, old people, people that are just hobbyists, people that have been playing for a long time and they want to shore up some of their knowledge. This is just a great music course for everybody. I really appreciate the students that we have because we have such a great time in the live sessions. Man, they're a blast. All right, so welcome to Tuesday, I guess for you guys it's afternoon, for the 2020 IDEA Virtual Curriculum I can't even speak today. The Virtual Curriculum Fair. Wow, what a tongue twister. My name is Ezra Washington with Note Distinction, and you're logged into Music Learning That Works, Why It Is So Hard to Learn Music on Your Own. Our format today is going to consist of a few things. I'm going to put those up on the screen right now for us. Right now we're in our introduction, and I'm just going to introduce everything that we're doing right now. We're going to have a little bit of information about me and the purpose of Note Distinction itself. And then I'm going to actually walk everybody through a sample class, just a really quick snippet from a class and a really scaled down version of one of the assignments, and then open it up for some questions on that and see how that works. And then I'm going to talk about what it is that we actually offer for our education platform. And then at the end, if we have some time, we'll do some question and answers. And the most important reason, the reason that most of you are all here, I guess, is we're going to announce a winner who's actually going to receive 50% off of our flagship program. We already had one lucky winner on Saturday, and we want to give another one out today, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to move right into our bio. I am the originator and the founder and head instructor of Note Distinction. My name is Ezra Washington. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran of foreign wars, actually. I was deployed to Iraq in 2003. And I have a bachelor's of instrumental music education from Old Dominion University and a master's of music and music education pedagogy from Virginia Commonwealth University, both in Virginia. So the time difference is kind of different. For me right now, it's about 6:15. For you, it's 2:15. But I'm glad that we can connect in this way because I had planned on coming to meet everybody in person. Just didn't work out, but I'm glad to meet you in this way too. And this is also going to be made available for you on our YouTube page as well. My primary instrument is saxophone, and I've been teaching music for about 15 years. And most of that was as a band director in Norfolk Public Schools. And I also DJ weddings on the side. I'm just kind of a musician in all aspects of my life. So I want to talk about the purpose of Note Distinction. So the purpose of Note Distinction is twofold. I want young people to learn music, and to do that, they need to have a good teacher. That's the whole point. I want to give a platform for young people to meet them where they are and to teach them music in a way that they can understand it. And really what I mean by teaching music was what we actually focus on is we actually focus on what I like to call practical music theory. Now, music theory can sometimes be a scary word for self-taught musicians especially, but it's nothing to be scared of at all. And whether you're self-taught or whether you're in a band program or an orchestra program or a choir or something like that, it's always kind of this thing that's out there that people are kind of afraid to talk about music theory sometimes, but it's just the keys to get the right answer. It's almost like music cheat codes, really, if you think about it. And the way that I want to teach the young people is in a way that will engage them to understand a concept and then to apply it to what they're actually doing in their music, whether it be singing in their choir, singing solo, being a songwriter and having other people sing your songs, playing an instrument on Sunday morning at church, playing in a band. Maybe you're playing a jazz band and you want to learn how to improvise better, or you're in a rock band and you want to play better on your guitar, whatever it is, producing, making beats, recording things, video editing, whatever it is, we kind of stay focused on the musical aspects of all of it. And music is such a broad thing that music theory can only help you. The more you know, the better you're going to be at it. So now, for me, and I don't want to harp on this too much because I think I did on Saturday, for me, I actually have 2 college degrees, as I mentioned before, but it's not a necessary thing to have a college degree to be a good musician. It's just that to go off, if you can imagine it, you're going off to a college, you spend a lot of money to get really good education from a university or a college or maybe even a conservatory, and then you take it into your profession. I was going to be a band director. I needed a certification. Every musician doesn't need to do that, but it does help to have good instruction on music. And oftentimes you can go somewhere, maybe a YouTube or on Facebook, or even ordering things online, and you can get information coming to you, but you can't interact with the teacher of the information. And so Note Distinction kind of bridges that gap a little bit. What I want to do is I want to give information to the students so they can receive it, but at the same time I want to make myself available to them to answer the questions that they need answered at that moment. Because there's no accounting for the question that you have in your mind and then asking a person, and if the person knows, giving you the answer in a way that you'll better understand it. That's just the best way to learn. I mean, you can watch videos all day, but you need somebody to actually walk you through the process sometimes, and that's kind of where we are with Note Distinction. So as an example of that, I wanted to actually go into a sample class in just a second, and we're going to play a little bit of a video, which is an excerpt from one of our long form classes. And then I'm going to also show you some paperwork that's from the class. It's the walkthrough of the class, the video walkthrough, and part of one of the homework assignments. So before we even start this video, I'm going to ask my director there to copy and paste that link into the chat for everybody. And it should be coming up in the chat here in just a second. All right, there it is. So if everybody could just click on that link, what it's going to do is take you to a hidden page on my website. And then on my website, you're going to be able to see two things. You'll see a picture, and well, actually for you, yeah, you'll see a picture on one side, and then you'll see a link. It says click here for the Superfast class. That's what I want you to do. Go ahead and click there for the Superfast class. It should open up in a second window a PDF file that's 2 pages long. All right, so I'm going to give everybody about 5 more seconds to do that. Great. Now I hope everybody has it. And now if you didn't get that to work, what you're also going to see on this next page after the video's over, you're going to see that assignment on the page. And so it'll be kind of small on your screen, but it'll be available to you there if you couldn't get it in the PDF format. So let's go ahead and roll that video for the sample class. So if I'm going from C up to C sharp, that's the very next note. That is called a half step. If I have 2 half steps, that makes 1 whole step. Then I'll be going from C, and instead of going to the C sharp, I'm skipping it to go to D. That's 2 half steps. That is called a whole step. So half step distance, whole step distance. Question?
Can you still have the whole steps and half steps if you're going from 2 like black keys? So instead of going from like the C to D, can you do like C sharp to D sharp, and that counts as a whole step?
Yes, exactly. It doesn't matter where you start. The distance is what we're talking about. And there's a name for the distance, and we'll say it in a second. If I'm going from C sharp up to D sharp, or I'm going from D flat up to E flat, or C sharp up to E flat, or all the different combinations inharmonically that we're talking about, if I'm going from here to here, that is a whole step because I'm going 1 half step, 2 half steps, right? So that distance is called a whole step if it's 2 half steps. Now, there's a musical term for distance, and it's not distance. It's actually called an interval, right? So an interval, you know how if you're driving by somebody's house and they got the white picket fence and then there's gaps in between each one of the little parts, I guess they would be called pickets. Wow. In between the pickets, that's an interval in between the pickets, right? The interval is the measure of the distance between 2 notes. You could probably write that one down. You could if you wanted to. So the interval is actually the measure of the distance between the 2 notes. So we talked about a half step being a motion from one note to the very next note, no matter where you start, as long as you end on the very next note. And it can be up or down, by the way. It doesn't have to be going just up. It can be going down. And a whole step being 2 half steps. All right, so we're back. And now I have my headphones on and I have a piano under me. And I have a piano under me in more than one way, actually. I actually have a keyboard right here in front of me in real life. And I have one imposed on the screen so you can actually see what it is that I'm doing here. And so if I play something real quick, you should be able to see it showing up. Yep, there it is. Great. So now in that small lesson, what I was actually talking about is I was talking about intervals. And that the greater lesson before that was that students were already learning what it was, what an interval actually was, but I wasn't naming it yet. And they were already learning the keys on the piano, what these keys are named. And what's going to happen after that is I actually started talking about more than just the short distance of intervals, but the little longer distance of intervals. And so right now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go the next step, and I'll talk about how this all works. But that was considered a pre-recorded lesson, a very, very short one. And then this is actually a live session that is open for students to actually come and ask questions about their homework. So I wanted to reiterate, let's say a student comes to me and asks a question about that. So, Mr. Washington, I didn't understand something about, what it was, a half step and whole step. What's a half step and whole step? I said on the homework, on the assignment, I didn't get it out of the homework because the assignment for the homework, as you're looking at it, you see that it has a whole bunch of notes right next to each other. All of that we would have covered already. This is kind of jumping in the middle of something. But they had a question on it. And I'll say, all right, well, what's your question, Johnny? What's your question? Well, if I start on C sharp, Johnny says, and I go up to D sharp, is that a half step or a whole step? And I say, all right, Johnny, so let's start on C sharp. So I got a C sharp right here. And then I am moving up to, it says E flat, and don't be confused by that, but it's also D sharp. We talked about that previously too. We talked about what they call enharmonics. Now, this C sharp and then this D sharp, is there a note in between it, Johnny? And Johnny will say, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, there's a note between it, Johnny. Right here we have a D, and that is in between C sharp and D sharp. If I put them both together, you'll notice that there's still something in between there, right? And so because I moved once to go from here to here, and the very next note is a half step, and then I moved once to go from here to here, then that's twice, right? So half step and a half step. So what is it? Is it going to be a half step or is it going to be a whole step? Well, a half step is one half of a whole step. So two half steps make a whole step, and so on and so forth. And we'll actually go through the homework, even question by question if need be, to make sure everybody really understands it, because they're going to be doing the homework. They're going to be submitting it to me by a certain time. The grade comes later after we've worked through it, because it's one thing to assign a homework, and if they don't get it, then they're going to kind of fall back. And I don't want the students to fall back. I want them to keep going and be encouraged to keep learning. And so we're going to make sure that everybody's got everything right, and then we're going to move on, right? And then the next week, that's what happens. So actually, let me go into what we offer. I'm going to take these off because I don't need them anymore. Yeah, so what we offer with Note Distinction is we offer a 32-week course, 16 pre-recorded lessons, each of them about anywhere from 18 to 35, maybe even 40 minutes long. Sometimes there's more than one specific video. Sometimes there's multiple videos within a lesson. But there's 16 pre-recorded lessons, and then there are 16 live sessions. So you saw the pre-recorded style of lesson, and then with me talking to you right here with my piano, that is our live session, and we'll do that every other week. So we have a pre-recorded lesson one week, and then it has a walkthrough, a video walkthrough worksheet, and then it has a homework assignment. Homework assignment gets turned in before the next week, because the next week is actually our live session. And so we actually go on the live session, we go over the homework just like I just said, and we make sure everything's ready to go, and then the next week we start the process all over again with a new pre-recorded lesson, and the week after that, a new live session. Now, it's calendared, I guess you can say that because we speak English. It's calendared or organized in a schedule very much like a public school schedule. We're going to start right after Labor Day, or right around Labor Day, and we're going to end right around Memorial Day. That's pretty standard. And we don't have our schedule completely lined out just yet, because we have to figure out who's going to be in the class. And then once we figured out who's going to be in the class and what day works best for that cohort of students, we'll organize them on a certain day. So we haven't set the schedule until we know who's in the class. But 16 pre-recorded lessons, 16 live sessions, and there are 14 graded assignments, much like the one that you've seen there on your free download there. There are 2 exams. I guess I could just call them tests, really. There's a test at the halfway point, which is the first semester, and then there's a final exam at the end, which is after the second semester. There's also a final project. The final project is really exciting to me because the final project is actually where the students get to shine. They get to do exactly what they want to do. If a student came to this class and they wanted to know, certain chord progressions so that they could write a song and they've learned it in the class, I want them to just use what they've learned in the class to share something with the rest of the community in the class. And what that is it can be a recorded song that they've written or recorded. It can be something that they wanted to just sing. It can be something that they wanted to share that they've researched and they thought was really interesting about Baroque music or whatever they wanted to study, and they can write something about it, and share it with everybody. That's great. Anything that they wanted to do that stretches them, and I work individually with the students to make sure that they're not sandbagging. I want them to really stretch themselves a little bit and put their best effort into a final project that they can be proud of, that their friends can be proud of, that they can really enjoy listening to or watching. Maybe there's a couple students in the class and one person just wants to sing and one person just wants to write songs. Those students should work on their final project together. They could have somebody write the song and somebody sing the song, and then they could submit that together. That's perfectly fine. Again, I work individually with each student to do something that they want to do. And then, of course, after all this is done, they've had the pre-recorded lessons, they've done all the live sessions, they've done the graded assignments, and they turned them in, they've finished both exams, and they've done their final project. They're going to get a graduation certificate. Now, the graduation certificate is not some legal binding document, but it does prove that they've learned a lot about music theory, and they've applied it in a lot of ways. The reason that we went the non-official route is because this is the United States, and there are 50 different ones, and each one has their own standards for learning. For those of you who know, there's only one AP College Board exam for music, and it is music theory. Now, right now, we have a program that starts, it's a 3-year cycle. We have year 1 for all the new students, year 2, of course, people that have already done year 1 with their certification, and then year 3 in the future will actually be a program that lines up students and gets them ready for the AP College Board exam. That one's under works because, the public school system, they have a different way of doing it. And so I wanted to make sure that that one is standardized and that one really focuses on getting the more seasoned musicians to actually pass the AP College Board exam and do really well. And if they want to pursue music at college level or university or conservatory level, then they'll actually be well equipped to do so with a good music theory course. So all of this is normally $500, but for IDEA families only, we're offering it for $449. So that's $449 for an entire year's worth. That's 1 year, entire year's worth of everything that you see here on the list. And I think it's a great deal, and I think everybody should really take part in it because I just enjoy teaching music, and I also know that the young people really enjoy being in classes with other people who are like-minded and doing things. I've been teaching a class similar to this in the public schools for over a decade, and there are many students that have never played music before and they just really enjoy listening. It makes you a better listener. There are students that really just stay in their room every single day and play their guitar. It makes you a better guitar player. And it doesn't have to be specific to any type of instrument or what you do, because the knowledge about music, it's the same across the board. There's different technical issues with each instrument or with each idiom for what you're doing, but really as a player and as an understander of music, it's all the same. It's all the same. So that's about it for my presentation today. I'm going to open it up very quickly for questions. We have some questions that we had in the chat, and we have some questions that we had from our previous chat, so we're going to share some of those here for our recording as well. So what's my first question? Get the microphone up there. There you go.
First question. I see that you're demonstrating on a keyboard, but I play violin. Could this class be beneficial for me?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, the class would be great for you because, again, as I look down at the piano here, this is just a keyboard. It's just an instrument, just like any other instrument. The thing about it is that if I play a major scale for you, it's upside down. Actually, can you go back to the key page for me real quick? And I'll show them this way. Go back to the key page. Yeah, on the key page, if I play If I play this major scale here, for instance, I just played C to C, and I use only the white keys. For those you know, that's a major scale. Now, if I play those notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then back B, A, G, F, E, D, C, if I play those notes in that configuration on any instrument, it will be a major scale. Now, it might not line up. In your case with the violin, it will line up exactly, because with the violin, yes, if I play a C on the piano, it is a C on the violin. So notation-wise, and as you understand things as a violinist, you'll be able to take these things and just transfer them one for one, except when we study bass clef, because violins use treble clef. But yes, it'll help you a lot. It'll help you to be a much better violinist, especially for reading rhythm. We do rhythm and everything too.
Next question. Will I get to choose the day and the time that I participate in the live session? Or is there a schedule that I can choose from?
That's a great question. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, the live sessions and the classes kind of roll out. They're time released, if you will. Excuse me one second. I'm going to mute real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, the classes are actually time released. And so you'll have the opportunity to take your classes when the pre-recorded lessons, when they come to you. They'll be released on a certain day at a certain time, and then that'll be made available to you. I don't want to just give you everything at once, because if you look at everything at once, it might be too much. Also, you'll get the tendency for people to just, binge the whole thing and then not be able to actually learn too much from it, because we go in the succinct order. But as far as you choosing your day, yes, when we get the classes organized into what I call cohorts, we'll actually organize the cohorts by the day that best suits you. If that changes at some point during the year, then we can try to make an adjustment. We do try to lock it in early on, just because we want you to kind of stay with your same community of students as we go through. But you'll have a chance at the beginning of your school year to decide which day of the week and what time, especially for the live sessions, will best fit you. And just like this meeting that we have right now, even if you miss a live session, it's going to be made available in our archive as well.
Next question.
Sure.
For the pre-recorded lessons, I can watch them anytime before the live session. Is that correct?
That is correct. Actually, for the pre-recorded lessons, we use a platform called Thinkific. It's an online platform where it's kind of self-contained. Everything's there. You get your videos for your pre-recorded lessons. You have all of the links to all of the paperwork that's in the class. Everything's there. And if you choose, we can actually give you a hard copy of a printed copy of the workbook, and that's an extra fee. And it's actually better to have the hard copy. But if you don't go that route, everything's there. But the thing about it is that once a video and a lesson has been time released, you can watch it as much as you want until the end of the school year. So let's say you're up on lesson 12 and you needed to understand something just a little bit better, and so you watched it on, say your day is Monday, and you watch it on Monday, and you try to do the homework and you're struggling, you can just go right back to it and watch it again on Tuesday, you can watch it again on Wednesday, you can watch it 4 times on Thursday, whatever, and then we'll turn in the homework, and then we'll do the homework the next week and everything else. And then let's say you get to lesson 15 and that thing from lesson 12 is still messing with you, just go back and watch it again. The whole course, once it's been open to you, is available for you until the end of the year.
Next question. How long have you been teaching music?
How long have I been teaching music? Yeah, I've been teaching music for over 15 years, and the bulk of that was at the public school. I was a band director at a high school for 10 years, and I've been a band director at a middle school for a couple more years than that. And I've done everything from jazz band, concert band, marching band. Marching band took up my whole life. That's kind of why I went into the middle school. And, you know, I opened up a music theory course. I actually opened a music production course in the public schools here in Norfolk. That was really fun because students actually got to sit on a computer and make beats and everything and rap over them and sing over them and do multi-layer, multi-track recording and everything. So I've been teaching music for a while. And outside of that, I have done some small amount of time as a private lesson instructor at a university, or at a community college actually, on saxophone. I've taught some members at the church to play different things and organize, and you know, I've just kind of been a music teacher for a while, but I'd say over 15 years now.
Next question. Is this private lessons or something different?
Yeah, it's considerably different than private lessons for a couple of reasons. One, it's a group setting, right? We want to do everything in a group because that means that if I'm saying something, I mean, it's a class, you know, if I'm saying something that isn't quite catching, sometimes I've noticed, actually quite often, if I'm saying something and the student isn't getting something and somebody in the class says something to the student and they just get it right away. I don't know if you have younger siblings, when you got a sibling who's 2 years old and a sibling who's 4 years old and you're maybe 8 or 9 and you can't understand what the 2-year-old's saying, but the 4-year-old can translate for you, right? That's kind of the class thing. You know, if I'm saying something, it's just good for everybody to have a community, because even after the class setting's over, you have somebody to talk to. I mean, I'm not always available after the class, but you have 24 other people there that you can, you know, get on Instagram or Facebook with and ask questions or call or whatever. And then you have that connection there where you're all going to be able to help each other in the class. So it's not, and the other aspect, private lessons. The other aspect is not private lessons because it's not that sort of thing. Music theory is a general form of study. And so I'm certainly tutoring people in understanding what music theory is, but me sitting down with somebody and saying, all right, this is an F sharp on your saxophone and this is G and this is how you play this, that's not part of the program. No, it's not.
Next question. What is the age range or the grade level for this?
Oh yeah, the age range it's really geared toward high school students. Now, the thing about this class is, the thing about music in particular, as we all know, you can be very young and have a very strong understanding for music, and that's absolutely sure. But I have geared the curriculum to be really focused right on the high school age. Now, if you have a student who maybe they're in 8th grade or even 7th grade and they've been taking private lessons, or they've been in a band or been in a choir, or they play an instrument really well, or they just like to learn a lot and you just can't stop getting them from banging on the table at dinner time because they just can't stop making noise, and they really are good students and they really will keep up with the workload, there's a big difference between a 7th grader and an 8th grader. I've actually noticed a bigger difference between a 9th grader and a 10th grader as I've taught in the public schools. But it is geared towards high school students. But again, if you have a student that is in 7th or 8th grade that is a really solid student and a pretty decent musician, I would certainly take them on as well.
Next question. I just really like music, but have no formal training. Would this class be beneficial for me?
Yes, if you really like music, and again, if you're open-minded enough to sit and try to hear some concepts that might be confusing to you at first, but then ask the questions. Just if you're a student that has never played an instrument before, and I've had quite a few of those in a music theory course, never played an instrument before, don't know a note from the hole in the ground, but they really enjoy listening to different types of music and you kind of understand what's going on, I might be able to put names to those things that you already understand. And that, oftentimes, I've had a student one time in the public school, never played an instrument a day in his life. He came in as a junior in high school. Really good student, never played an instrument before, and he was in a class with some of my highest level orchestra and band students. And he got the best grade in the class just because, one, he's a good student and he worked really hard, and he also on the side, he was a rapper. He rapped all the time. And everybody thought, oh, he's not gonna really be able to, because you remember talking chord progressions and things like that. He just got it. He just sat down, did the work, and really understood it. And if it's something that you enjoy listening to, it will it's like your ears open up when you understand what you're listening to. It's like, remember the scene in The Wizard of Oz where she opened up the door and everything all of a sudden was in color? That's really how it is. When you can listen to music and it's nice to listen to, but if you understand what's going on, it just completely opens up for you. So yes, absolutely. If you just enjoy music more than the average person and you're willing to work, this class can be great for you.
Last question is, typically how long are the videos and how long does the live sessions last?
Each lesson is usually, I say, about 18 to maybe the mid 30s in minutes. Every week is different. Sometimes you might have a 14-minute video and an 8-minute video, and that's one lesson on 1 week. Sometimes there's 2 videos in 1 week. Sometimes there's, I think, 3 short videos in 1 week. Sometimes it's 1 big old video for the whole week. But usually ranges from just over 15 minutes to just under 40 minutes, I guess I could say. And then the live sessions, we plan for 1 hour of time. We actually block out 1 hour of time for each live session. All right, good. So I guess that's going to be all. And I guess if there's nothing else, then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I make this available to everybody. It's going to be on our YouTube page. And I'm going to send all our information to Idea Family so they'll be able to link for you. I know that this is something that they kind of changed. I just received an email from Miss Carol about it, and it's just going to be a different thing that they're doing. But she's going to make the links available to everybody so you can watch this on our YouTube page later. And I hope if you have any more questions, you can go to our page. Actually, go to that last page, the info link page. If you have any questions, you can go right to that page. We're going to leave it up here for a good couple minutes, even after we've stopped talking to everybody. And those QR codes will send you to one of those 3 things. We have our website is www.notedistinction.com. You know how Facebook works, you know how Instagram works, there it is. And if you have your phone there and your screen's big enough, you can QR code one of those things or maybe even screenshot it now and then read it later, whatever the case may be. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. I wanted to make sure that everybody gets to see this on the YouTube page, and I hope everybody signs up to class and starts their music journey with us, Note Distinction.